This is the Blooming Good Time podcast.
Oh gosh.
Hello everyone, welcome to a Blooming Good Time. I'm Riley.
And I'm Emma.
And I'm Beth.
And today we got to do an interview.
We are having an interview. The first one, actually. It's really kind of exciting and a little nerve-wracking at the same time. So
bear with us.
Yes, please do. We don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
We try. But anyways, Emma, do you want to talk about who we're hosting?
We are hosting Russell from Live Earth Products. And we are just so fascinated. I'm just going to say right now, it is so much information, and I feel like we just got the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, yeah.
So I almost want to re-listen, relearn. There's so much that we don't even know about when it comes to soil health and a lot of the science that is behind it. So I feel like we definitely want to do something again, almost like a questionnaire.
Yeah.
Just for people to even just be able to listen to this and then go back, and if they have any questions, we can do a questionnaire. I feel like that's going to be a good idea.
Oh my gosh, that would be good. So, anyways,
it's definitely a lot to process. Like, interesting, super fascinating, really into it. A lot of Ringo Gingo.
What's Ringo Gingo?
Like words that are very sciencey.
Yes, we're learning. So
I'm learning.
Yeah, and a lot of it I understand. It's just that we don't use it on a regular basis. So you kind of understand the process. But anyways, shall we dive into it?
Yes.
Okay.
Here we go. So hello and welcome to a really good time. This is super exciting. This is our first Zoom meeting interview. So this is very new to us. But we're super excited to have you here and that you wanted to work with us on our podcast, our little podcast. It's really, really fun for us. And we've been able to sample a lot of your products that you sent to us, which is super generous of you. We have been loving it and we've been having a lot of fun, experimenting it in our gardens and different areas. And yeah, it's been really cool getting to know you guys as a company.
So do you want to start by just introducing yourself and saying who you are and what you're doing?
Sure. So my name is Russell Taylor. I represent Live Earth Products as Vice President. I'm also President of the Humate Product Trade Association, which is an international association of humic acid manufacturers like myself. So I get to speak with the regulators, the FDA, the EPA, all of your state and federal agencies on behalf of the industry. So kind of an expert on the topic. Happy to dive into the details if you want. I am a certified crop advisor. I'm not a horticulturist, so we can talk soil and get into the nitty gritties. I might not know the differences between some of the plant varietals and things like that. So
that's okay.
We don't do that.
Yeah.
There's signs. Cool.
That's really cool.
Obviously, we're a mining company. You can see the picture behind me. We mine an ancient deposit. The deposit is what used to be the Amazon forest millions of years ago. So
Seriously?
What you have is thousands of years of organic matter that's been built up and then trapped in the earth. So this plant material that we're mining is called humic shale, and that plant deposit is fully decomposed. Business was founded by my father in the early 80s. So
Wow.
he was in the mining industry. They were looking for other things, tar sands, oil shales, things like that. And they found this deposit and said, well, it's not what we're looking for. It might make a fertilizer or something. But Ed said, So he placed a claim, and we literally sold the rocks from the mine as decorative rocks to buy the dynamite to open the mine. So I've been in the mining industry since I was a little 9-year-old kid out there sticking sticks of dynamite.
Wow.
So
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, it's the real American dream. So we've grown. Our products are used all over the world. You'll see us on the Rose Bowl Stadium. We've been on the Rose Bowl Stadium since 2006. Our products have been used on the National Mall. There's all kinds of flower and rose societies across the United States and the world that use our humates and humic acids as a part of their growing programs.
I saw in your guys' pamphlet that it like has a picture of the mine and it says the ultimate compost pile. I would have never thought to even create that as a business, but that is actually so needed and so cool.
So what's needed about humates and humic acids is time. Now, the thing that you can quantify about humates, and if you want to dive into it now, stop me or not.
No, go ahead.
So the first thing you have to understand about soil organic matter is how long it takes to make some of those components. So it might take you 1,000 years to make an inch of topsoil, and 1 year of wind erosion and bad watering to ruin that.
Right.
So it takes a while to build up these stable, and you might hear the term sequestered, but that means kind of trapped carbons that are locked up in your soil that don't disappear. Now, your soil microbes do what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to break down organic matter.
Yeah.
And you've got two different categories. I kind of parse them out: what they're eating and the leftovers. So think of like the popsicle and the popsicle stick. There's some things that are really easy for them to get to. Sugars like dextrose or cellulose. Sugars that were in the plant. Microbes break that down very readily. There's some things that persist and last in the soil that aren't broken down by the microbes. And that actually builds your soil structure. So lignins, those kind of things are harder to break down. So what you see in our deposit is the leftovers of the leftovers. 50 pounds of humate equals about 1,500 pounds of compost or manure before that decomposition process. So when you're using humates, you're kind of hitting the fast forward button on time. You're kind of speeding up that degradation process, getting those stable organic acids. It's not microbe food. And so a lot of times you want to use humates with your other active organic matters, like compost, manure, green manure, those kind of things. So it's kind of when you divide organic matter, people just see it on a soil test, go, oh, organic matter is low. And they don't go any further. They don't talk about what's feeding the microbes, what's building soil structure, what's helping my plants retain nutrients and water and grow beautiful flowers. And so that's why we wanted to just talk about soil organic matter, kind of dive into the topic a little bit.
That's so fascinating. And the thing about time is you can't get that back, really. Like you just kind of almost hit a gold mine in a different way.
For a flower farmer.
For a flower farmer.
Anybody that farms. No, go ahead.
It was just a joke. There was one of our brochures that said, if with enough time, our humate line would have ended up turning into diamonds. And, we're glad we caught it. Yeah, we're glad we caught it before that happened.
Yeah.
No,
Wouldn't want that.
Or maybe, I don't know. No, I mean the last couple years of just in our world of farming and flower farming, there's just been more. It used to be that you would just like kind of fix the problem on the top. Does that make sense? And then now it's kind of gone to, oh, wait a second, you have to actually feed the soil. Does that make sense? So like if we're putting out, fertilizers and all that kind of stuff, you think about feeding the plant, but we're actually trying to feed the soil to make the soil better. So, I mean, that's why I was so fascinated by your products actually, because you're actually feeding the soil, right? I mean, that's, oops.
Yeah. So, the terminology we use would be soil health and fertility.
Yeah.
So as an agronomist, we're making recommendations on fertility would be providing your macro and micronutrients, phosphorus, potassium, nitrogen, those kind of things. Your soil health is actually focusing on those other aspects like porosity, microbial activity, pH, all those things that would actually kind of interact with the nutrients, but not necessarily be nutrients. And so the focus on soil health is actually, I think, a good thing because some of the things you can make decisions on fertility can be detrimental to soil health. Tillage, for example, or overuse of salt-based fertilizers. The high salt fertilizers are, they might give you a quick flower, but you've added so much salt that it might be detrimental to microbial activity, and mycorrhiza, or something you're trying to propagate. So you need to make decisions based on fertility and soil health.
Looking at the whole picture and not Because it used to just be you're looking at this beautiful flower or what's above the ground, I guess, was the original thought, I think, in anything that even like lawn care or anything like that. And people would just be like insta green or insta beautiful flowers and big, so anyways.
I feel like taking the time to learn a lot more about the unseen. I mean, we've been looking into different like fungi and stuff like that. And so every time we pull up our landscape fabric and we see like all the fungi that's starting to grow, we're like, yes, we did better.
Yeah. Anyways.
So there's a few things that any new gardener should focus on. And that is first understanding your fertility and your macro and micronutrients. When you're using fungal populations like mycorrhizal fungi, for example, what the mycorrhizal fungi is doing is it's trading the plant some root exudates, and then the mycorrhizal fungi is actually going out and harvesting more nutrients. So it's a trade-off. It's a symbiotic relationship with that plant.
Yeah.
When you're fostering that, you're actually allowing that plant to reach out further and draw more nutrients. Now, sometimes those nutrients are in your soil, but unavailable. And so that's when you start using products like Humates. Is what we're trying to do is increase the availability of nutrients that are already there. So when you talk about soil organic matter, think of that as your pantry. How big is your pantry? The bigger the pantry, the more stuff you can put in there, right?
Right.
The same thing is true with soil organic matter. As your soil organic matter increases, your ability to hold nutrients changes and also retain water. Now, I'm going to throw a number out at you. And
we're not very good at math. I'll tell you that.
It's an easy one. So
okay.
the USDA NRCS encourages everybody to do a 1% change in soil organic matter. Now, your 1% change in soil organic matter doesn't sound like a big deal, but a 1% change in soil organic matter will conserve 30,000 more gallons of water per acre.
That's insane.
So it's a big deal. So let's say you're planting flowers outside. You've got an in-soil type system. You're rain-fed. You're trying to grow poppies or something, and you've got this big field of them. How are you going to do it? Increase your organic matter. That's the only way to use that, because you get a rain event. That's your only time you get water, right? So if you can store that water longer and reduce your runoff, you've done two things. You've increased your nutrient retention and you've increased your water retention. You've made better use of those inputs applied. So when you're using Humates, you're trying to reduce input loss. So I'm an agronomist. In flower industry, you probably don't weigh, measure, and sell every part. In agriculture, we do. So when we're weighing and selling corn, for example, we know if we add XYZ, we get more corn. That's a more profitable decision. When you add humic acid to your nitrogen fertilizer on corn application, you will get, depending on the soil type, we got 20 more bushels of corn out of the same amount of fertilizer. That's money. That's just straight money that the farmer printed by using humic acids. And the humic acid didn't do anything to the plant. What the humic acid did was it stored the nutrient, made it last longer. So a lot of times in some of these soils across the United States or even the world, what's keeping these flowers from achieving their genetic potential is just generally nutrient availability, iron availability, phosphorus availability. Those are the things that actually, add color and size to your blooms and your flowers.
Right.
That's fascinating. We're just sitting here, our minds are just like processing here. That's a lot. I mean, it's great though.
Yeah. So if you were like specifically talking about flower farms, I mean, do you guys do a lot of flower farming or like help out flower farmers in general? Or what are the results that they've kind of seen?
We know that it's like a growing group of people in the last couple of years.
So I'll tongue in cheek on my answer here, but we help flower farmers in all kinds of different industries. So I would think the cannabis growers consider their product a fruit and a flower, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the solutions we're offering are to all growing plants. We're trying to solve soil problems, and it's not unique just to flowers. We do help flower growers, and the one we hear the most of is rose growers. We hear a lot of rose growers that really use a lot of humic acids. Now, the number one takeaway, if your growers were like, man, that was a lot of technical talk, I really don't know what he was talking about. The number one thing that you can do as a flower grower is use these organic acids with your fertilizers. So let's say you were doing fish, you're putting a fish emulsion out. You could add some humic acid to it or fulvic acid and make that nutrient more available to the plant. Phosphorus is one of the key components for producing a flower, phosphorus and potassium. So anything you can do is store phosphorus and increase availability, it's going to help. And so that's a real common use, is using them with fertility.
Okay. So I had a question. So we do like a fertilizer spray sometimes. Is this something that like you could break down into like when you're doing
almost like a compost tea?
Yeah, like a compost tea or anything like that? I mean, is that beneficial at all? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. So there is some polyphenols that are in the humic acid, and there's also some smaller molecules called fulvic acid. So when you talk about humic acids as a category, you have humic acid, which is alkaline soluble. It's the middle guy. You have fulvic acid, which is the smallest, and it's soluble at all pH. Typically, most people that are blending with foliar applications are using fulvic acid. Now, fulvic acid, this is probably going to be a head scratcher for you, but when you look at some of your makeup bottles, it says minerals on your cosmetics. Sometimes that's us, because they're using fulvic acid to help absorb some of those nutrients across your cell membrane.
Wow.
Now, the absorption property is not just unique to human cells, it's also plant cells. So people are using fulvic acid to help absorb nutrients across the cell membrane. So
interesting.
In your foliar applications, you can use compost teas, other types of nutrients to absorb the nutrients. And so it's a very common use. The best use for the humic acid, in my opinion, is most root drenches. So let's say you had a rose in tough clay soil, you're trying to loosen up that soil, give it some love, add some humic acid in a liquid form, give it a nice big drink. I've got several trials, and I wasn't prepared to show them today, but we've had projects in salt-affected soils where we add the humic acid. It helps mitigate some of the effects of the salt. So those trees and shrubs that are dying from the salt and the flowers can survive and do better because the humate is actually buffering away that sodium.
So that would actually help with, I know greenhouses, when we grow in greenhouses, we don't have rain actually coming down. We do it in a drip line irrigation, and some people have salt buildup because they don't have that rain to, swish out all the, I guess, salt. So adding those humates to every time you turn a bed over will kind of help with that. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I use my humate, I've got raised beds at home, and I also have some soil applications. In my soil applications, I'm usually incorporating the humate in the springtime when I'm tilling the ground. And when I rotate my beds, I'll put that in the raised beds, about 10 pounds per cubic yard in the raised beds.
Okay.
And then after I apply it during the season, I'll use a liquid version. Now, the liquid version I like, particularly on clay type soils, tough soils, and soils that are just really compacted, because the humate will actually cause that soil to loosen up a little bit. I can get into technical details on it, why, if you want. Yeah. So clay particles are actually, they look like little mini plates. They're flat, and they have a positive and negative side. And that if there's nothing in there to disrupt them, they'll stack up just like plates. When you add something that has high cation exchange capacity, that's what humic acid has, the high cation exchange capacity. It's ability to hold, store, and exchange positively charged ions, right? So when you add something with high CEC, it will take those clay particles and cause them to tilt. When they tilt, that creates space for air, oxygen, water, roots. So it causes those clay particles to kind of tilt up and loosen. So that's why when you add the organic matter, you loosen up that clay type soil.
I have a question. And I don't even know if these correlate, but I was wondering, what is the difference between because it sounds like you're digging organic matter deep in the soil that's been there for thousands of years. And I was wondering what the difference is between yours and peat soil. Because I know that in England, there's a huge movement about not harvesting peat soil anymore. So is this something that it could be possibly
a replacement,
for it, or is there similarities between the two? With I'm just curious.
So some of the peat you're using in these flower beds is more for porosity and water storage, and not necessarily adding organic matter. So if you were to use humate in a raised bed, you might use about 10 pounds per cubic yard. You're not going to add a significant volume of humate to that bed or to your native soil. So if you're adding maybe 1 or 2%, that's normal, and actually a very high rate. So yeah, it's not a replacement for peat. It's a replacement for your stable organic acids that would be part of your soil organic matter. It's not more of I would call a substrate.
Okay. Yeah, we don't really use peat here, but I was just curious because it sounds like similar, or there's some similarities, but obviously you use it for something that's totally different.
Yeah. When you look at a rainbow of decomposition, let's say peat was over here, humic acids would be clear on the other side, where what made up it's a picture in time. It's like, when does an apple turn into compost? It's the same thing about when does peat turn into humate and humic acids. There's a decomposition stage that needs to occur.
Oh,
okay. Interesting. That's fascinating. I never would have known that.
So I had a question. How long, so we just started using your products, and so we have several flower beds we're just doing a fun little test with. How long until you start seeing results from that? Is it pretty, it takes time. Like, I turn over the bed, I'm going to add more humates, compost, do my whole, fertilizer, replant. Does that make sense? Will it start to work right away, or is it kind of like, take 6 months, a year?
So it depends on the problem. So for example, compaction, that just takes time. It just takes time to deal with, loosen up that soil and get it to slowly be soft and crumbly. On things like nutrient availability, you'll see humic acid work rather quickly. So it depends on what your metric is. If you have a compaction issue, it's going to take a little bit of time. If you have nutrient availability issues and water storage, it can happen really fast. I've got people who use humate and then days later say, wow, pop green, how much fertilizer is in here? And we're like, none. It's just organic matter and a little bit of acidity. So
that's cool. It's just understanding how it works and how fast, and that's cool.
I think we definitely we've marked where we've put it and just kind of look for differences just for our own education.
And science.
Yeah.
For science.
Okay.
Well, do you have any other questions before we? I
wanted to know about, I saw a post that you guys could melt snow with it.
Yeah.
So I was just curious.
I wish it was more technical, but it's not. The humate is black and absorbs light, and when you put it on top of white snow, it's reflecting the light, so it actually absorbs the heat and just melts the snow. I wish it was something. Yeah, I wish it was something fancier than that, but no.
It's just color theory.
But then it's good for the soil too.
It is. There's actually a wheat grower that was melting snow, and he ran out, and he was monitoring his yield, and up to the line, he got 10 bushels difference. You got more.
Wow.
Yeah, so it does impact the soil. It's not just melting the snow, but it's
a win-win situation.
The snow melting part is just because it's black. I wish there was more. But.
That's funny. Okay, what other questions?
Well, okay. So where is your availability? Like, who can purchase from you guys if they're wanting some of your products? Is it strictly in the US, or is it reaching further?
Everywhere?
Our products are distributed nationwide. We do a lot of private labeling, so that means our product isn't somebody else's label. So if you're in Utah, for example, you could go to your local Intermountain Farmers store, and that bountiful humate is our humate. Nationwide in the United States, you can get it on Amazon. There are chains in the United States that will distribute our products. Site One, Ewing Irrigation. Some of the irrigation supply companies will stock our products. We have a fairly good footprint with some of the irrigation supply companies in California, but Amazon might be your best bet if you're across the United States.
Cool. We love Amazon.
Well, and then this is not just for commercial growers. This is for the small gardener as well, and lawn care, just the everyday gardener. Correct?
Yeah. So if I was a homeowner, look at these products, I would look at our Humate soil conditioner, which is available even on Amazon in small 5-pound bags for the homeowner. And
Right.
that would be enough to do, a couple small raised beds, that type of area. You could also get 50-pound bags, which do a larger area, like 3,000 square foot of lawn, and that's also available on Amazon. Now, the liquids, typically you're going to mix them in like a hose end sprayer or a watering can. You mix it 40 parts water to 1 part humic acid, water your plants normally. So yeah, they're available in small gallon containers, and those are available on Amazon and available to the consumers very easily easy to get, easy to ship, and easy to handle. But yeah, we also do large ag. So you could call us up and say, I want thousands of tons, and we're going to do all this,
Wow.
acreage. We do it, potatoes and corn and soybean. Let's see, what's up in your area? They do hops. Yeah.
Hops, yeah.
Okay. So if we're like mediocre grower, like we're a flower production grower on 3 acres with, about, 800 roses, so I would need somewhere between a big ag and a home grower. Would that be through your website or Amazon again, or how would I go about getting stuff?
Ask your local distributor first. So the reason is freight. These items are really expensive to ship. I've shopped long and hard, and I cannot find anything cheaper on Amazon than about $26 for a 50-pound bag. That's our raw cost.
Right.
You could pick these bags up locally at your home and garden store for the same cost, $19 a bag. It should cost you more than that. So it's all about shipping. These items just get expensive the more you ship them. So contact your local irrigation supply company. Say, hey, this stuff's great. You better get it. It will save you money. But irrigation supply companies are probably the best place to start. There's a lot of schools and places that use humates. You'd be surprised to know.
Right. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, we do have just a couple close by us, so we'll definitely reach out there and see what we can find. Hopefully they have it. If not, we'll see if they'll do it, because that's amazing.
I feel like I need to re-listen to this
myself.
Yeah, myself, and like take in all the information again, because it's actually so fascinating.
So you schedule a follow-up. We're happy to do it. I will offer all your listeners some advice. Contact your county extension agents. There are people like me that are certified crop advisors and county extension agents. It's free. You could walk into that county extension agent, hold up a weed and say, what is this and how do I get rid of it? So it's free to you. And there's people like me that are just really passionate about these things and happy to talk about them. If there's a lot of questions like, hey, what about this? What about that? Let's just get a follow-up, and we'll just drill through some questions. I'm happy to.
We'd love to have you back.
Yeah, totally. This has been amazing. So thankful that you've been able to have time with us, even though we had some technical difficulties early on in this. It's been really, really fun, really, really fascinating. And I hope we get to talk with you guys again and your company. And I'm excited to see where you guys go in the future.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Or how it goes on our farm.
I know. Thank you so much for this meeting. I'm just going to let you know it's going to like time out in like 2 seconds.
No, it's not yet. Yeah. Okay. Anyways.
Well, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, we'll definitely email you if we're going to have another meeting, because this will be really fun to like go further into this.
Yeah.
Cool.
Especially if we start seeing some differences and learn a little bit more ourselves too.
Yeah.
And if you want to just do a Q&A with your audience, happy to do it. Like, what about this? What about that?
Oh, that'd be super cool.
Oh, we would love to do that. That would be cool.
Yeah. I'm thinking of great ideas that I don't have to worry about. Okay, awesome.
Well, we appreciate it so much, and thank you for bearing with us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have a good day, man.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Well, that was our interview with Russell. It went really well, I think.
I loved that. That was so interesting, you guys, and I feel like I do need to listen to it again, because I need to soak it all in. There's things that he said definitely that I was like in my head, like I need to look that up later.
Yeah, or just, it just makes me excited, because we do have clay soil, and when he was talking about all the soils and how that all works, like I've, visited that before and I kind of understand it, but then it's just like a good little refresher to kind of say, yep, this is what our soil needs, and to find these live earth products, and we started using them already here on our farm, but to know that dear Lord, it would be so much easier when that shovel just goes in.
Yes.
Crumbly soil.
Less work for us. And I really
Easy.
liked that he mentioned the rose farm because
Yeah.
we do have a lot of roses and anything to help the roses.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely. So that was fascinating. I'm excited to have him back again or do
You guys should let us know if you guys have questions because I know we have questions.
Yeah.
More questions. And we only had 30 minutes to do this, so we want to do something else.
Yeah.
That would be really fun.
Yeah, it'd be really fun to possibly sit down with Russell again and do a
questionnaire or something.
Yeah, Q&A with you guys. If you guys have questions, please send those in to us on Instagram. You can DM us or put it in the comments or even on our YouTube.
Yeah.
You guys are very talkative on our YouTube, so like...
I know. We love it.
I feel like our main audience is YouTube.
What's up, guys? Well, if you enjoyed this and you have any other friends who would also enjoy listening to 3 female flower farmers talk about soil health and salt of the earth, minerals, mining. That's so smart. My goodness.
Yes.
Mining compost. I don't know.
It's like the ultimate compost pile.
Yeah, gold. Practical diamonds.
That is
Yeah,
not our
that's not how it
backyard.
works.
No.
No. Well, if you enjoyed this, please send it to them. And I hope you had a really good time with us.